You've heard of the basic tricks: gaslighting, love bombing, reverse psychology. That's amateur hour. The real world doesn't operate on textbook theories. In this video, we are breaking down 200 unfiltered rules of dark psychology that you have likely never heard anywhere else. Lock the door, eliminate distractions. Let's begin. Rule 1. The tactical confession. If you want someone to trust you implicitly, do not boast about your perfection. Instead, strategically confess a minor, slightly embarrassing flaw that does not damage your core competence. Human beings are naturally hardwired to look for the catch when someone seems too perfect. By handing them a curated vulnerability on a silver platter, you satisfy their suspicion. They subconsciously think, if they are willing to admit that, they must have nothing bigger to hide. Your perceived honesty skyrockets. Rule 2. The delayed reaction, the power dynamic shift. When someone insults you or tries to put you down in a social setting, do not react instantly. Pause. Look at them in the eyes for exactly 3 seconds without changing your facial expression. Then, ask a completely mundane, unrelated question, or simply smile and look away. Immediate anger or defensiveness signals that they hit a nerve, giving them the upper hand. A calculated, silent pause forces the aggressor to sit in their own toxic energy. In that 3-second vacuum, their brain panics, wondering if they went too far, completely reversing the social power dynamic. Rule 3. Artificial scarcity of presence. Never let people get entirely comfortable with your constant availability. If you answer every call on the first ring and reply to texts within 30 seconds, your time loses its psychological value. Humans subconsciously value what is scarce and take for granted what is abundant. By occasionally delaying your responses or being unavailable without giving a detailed explanation, you raise your perceived status. You transform from an option into a premium asset. Rule 4. The false alternative, the illusion of choice. When you want someone to do something, never ask a yes or no question. Instead, offer them 2 choices, both of which lead to your desired outcome. For example, instead of asking, "Can we meet for a meeting?" ask, "Should we do the meeting on Tuesday morning or Thursday afternoon?" The human brain dislikes feeling backed into a corner. By providing options, you satisfy their deep emotional need for autonomy and control, while secretly steering the ship exactly where you want it to go. Rule 11. The no permission slip. Instead of forcing someone to say yes to your request, phrase your question so that saying no actually gives you what you want. For example, would it be a terrible idea if we tried this approach? People feel incredibly safe and powerful when they say the word no. It acts as a defensive shield. By letting them say no to protect their boundaries, they are ironically agreeing to your proposal without realizing they just lowered their guard. Rule 12. Controlled reactivity isolation. When an angry person tries to bait you into a shouting match, speak in a whisper. The angrier they get, the lower and calmer your voice should become. They are expecting an equal and opposite reaction to justify their rage. When you meet their fire with absolute ice, you isolate their behavior, making them look ridiculous even to themselves. Subconsciously, they will start matching your volume just to bridge the psychological gap. Rule 13. The whisper command. If you want a crowded room or a distracted person to pay absolute attention to you, do not shout. Drop your volume and lean in slightly. The human brain is evolutionarily wired to ignore loud, repetitive background noises, but it sharply tunes in to sudden drops in volume because a whisper signifies a secret, a threat, or a high-value piece of information. Rule 14. The Benjamin Franklin reverse loop. If you want someone who dislikes you to start treating you better, ask them for a very small, effortless favor, like borrowing a pen or holding a door for a second. This triggers the psychological phenomenon of cognitive dissonance. Their brain reasons, "I don't like this person, yet I just did something nice for them. Therefore, I must actually like them more than I thought. Their behavior alters their internal belief system. Rule 15, the preemptive gratitude trap. When you ask someone to do a task for you, end your request with, "Thank you. I knew I could count on you because of how reliable you are." This pins a highly respectable label to their identity before they've even started the task. Human beings will go to immense lengths to avoid shattering a positive reputation that has been publicly assigned to them. Rule 16, the third-party validation shield. When you want to criticize someone's work or behavior without creating an enemy, never use the word "you." Frame the critique through an external third party. Say, "The market usually reacts poorly to this style," or "The data shows this specific pattern causes issues." By removing the personal pronoun "you", you separate their fragile ego from the mistake. They no longer feel attacked by you. Instead, you both become allies looking at an external problem together. Rule 17, the illusion of high investment. When offering something to someone, make sure they perceive the immense effort, time or sacrifice it took for you to acquire it, even if it was incredibly easy for you. People do not value things based on their objective worth. They value them based on the perceived cost of acquisition. If they think you casually stumbled into something, they will discard it. If they think it cost you blood, sweat, and tears, they will treasure it. Rule 18, the compliment deprivation effect. Never give a high-value, deeply analytical person constant, generic praise. Instead, give them rare, highly specific, and deeply observant compliments once in a long while. Cheap compliments create inflation. They become worthless background noise. When your praise is exceptionally rare and fiercely accurate, it becomes a highly addictive drug that they will actively work harder to earn from you. Rule 19, the context cut, truth detection. If you suspect someone is lying about a story, ask them to tell you the exact same story completely backward, starting from the final conclusion and moving back to the beginning. Truthful memories are stored visually and emotionally, allowing them to be retrieved from any angle. Fabricated lies are stored chronologically as a sequence of memorized steps. Forcing them to tell it backward breaks their mental script, causing cognitive overload and revealing the gaps in their lie. Rule 20, the possessive pronoun distance. Pay close attention to how someone speaks about their projects, teams, or relationships. If they shift from saying "our company" or "my partner" to saying "the company" or "that relationship," take note. Linguistic distancing is the very first subconscious sign of psychological detachment. Their brain is actively disowning the emotional connection before their conscious mind even admits it or acts upon it. Rule 21, the strategic flaw display. When negotiating or building a deal, deliberately leave one minor, easily catchable error in your proposal. Let the other party find it and point it out proudly. This feeds their ego and makes them feel highly intelligent and dominant in the negotiation. Once they feel they've won that small point and corrected you, their guard drops, making them vastly more cooperative with the rest of your actual agenda. Rule 22. The over-explanation red flag. When you ask someone why they missed a deadline or failed a task, and they immediately launch into a highly vivid cinematic story filled with unnecessary details, stop listening to the content and look at the behavior. Truth is sparse and direct because the brain doesn't need to build a defensive wall out of words. A liar uses excessive details, adjectives, and backstory to build an artificial layer of credibility, hoping the sheer volume of information will overwhelm your suspicion.